what's up? My name is Dom. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I typically make bookish content, movie content, and anything else in between because I like to do whatever I want on this channel, and tonight is going to be movie content. Pretty sure my voice cracked somewhere along the lines there. It is freezing, let me tell you. Philly is going through some of the coldest weather they've had all winter, and I am all bundled up to be cozy so that we can talk about something I do every year. If you've been on this channel for a while, you do know I love to gather up. First of all, I love to watch a ton of movies every year. I try to always catch what's new, make up for lost time because there's a bunch of movies I missed growing up, and I like to gather them all in one place so I could talk about them from best to worst. So yes, we are here with another tier ranking video in which I tier rank all 137 movies I watched in 2024. That's only 2 less movies that I watched in 2023, because in 2023 I watched 139, but 137 is still a lot, and I don't want this video to be 3 hours long, so some movies are going to have more attention than others. I will not be going into detail on my top 10 favorite movies of 2024 because I made a video for those. I will not be going into any detail for my top worst movies of 2024 because again, those have their own different video. I'm also not going to go into detail on any of the remakes, especially because some of those movies I watch every year. Movies I may go into some more detail though are the November watches and the December watches, just because I haven't made videos for those. December wrap-ups I never do just because at the end of the year I want to relax, and then when January comes I want a fresh start. I just want to talk about 2024 as much as possible and then move on. And then for my November watches, I just didn't have the time to film it because the end of last year was pretty crazy. So all that being said, let's jump right into the video. Here are all the tier ranks I have this year. They're named a little differently as compared to last year just because this year I don't have as many 5 stars last year. If you guys remember, all 10 of my favorite movies last year were 5 out of 5 stars, whereas this year only 4 movies are 5 out of 5, and then like 3 are 4.5, and then the rest are 4. So I just had to switch things up a bit because last year I would put the 4.5 in something called in the nominations R, and as you can see I don't have that this year. But for a quick rundown, what does each tier rank mean? For the top one we have "And the Oscars Go To," and those are going to be my favorite movies of 2024. And then the next one we have "Congrats, you made the short list," and these movies are going to be rated 4 out of 5 stars. Then for my next one we have "An Enjoyable Watch." These are going to be the movies I rated 3.5 out of 5 stars. After that we have "Good and Can Scroll Through Phone." These movies were just okay. I gave them 3 out of 5 stars, and they're still very much understandable if I'm multitasking, because for some of these not only was I on my phone, but I was cooking at the same time, and I still pretty much got it. Then we have "At Least You Tried." These movies I gave 2.5 out of 5 stars, and then the next one is "Oh Girl, Absolutely Not." These movies I gave 2 out of 5 stars. The penultimate tier is "And the Razzie Goes To," which is another name I've reused multiple times. This is where the worst movies are gonna go. And then at the bottom we have the movies that I rewatch because I don't feel like it's fair to rank them, especially because like so many of them have high ratings anyway. Like, why would I rewatch movies I don't like? You feel me? So that being said, let's discuss the first movie I watched in 2024. And this website, I swear to God, it gets worse and slower every year, so bear with me if you're watching my screen recording. But the first movie I watched was one of those mystery movies that the AMC does, and that is The Book of Clarence. This is essentially a Jesus retelling, but if Jesus were a con artist. Clarence's story, despite being a con artist, is very similar to Jesus. Like, Clarence is telling people he is the next Messiah. He has his equivalent of John the Baptist, he has his equivalent of Mary Magdalene, so on and so forth. And I actually did really enjoy this movie. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It made the shortlist. Then I watched Night Swim. I gave this 2 out of 5 stars. This has a Razzie. I talk about it in my worst movies video. And then the next movie I watched in 2024 also deserves a Razzie, and that is Cavalcade. This I watched because it was a Best Picture nominee. Did not have a good time. I was bored out of my mind. I can't remember if I ranked it worse or better than Night Swim, quite frankly. Next movie I watched is AI, Artificial Intelligence, which gets a short list. I have never seen this before. I know a lot of people did in childhood. I know there's like, I think the story is Stanley Kubrick was originally going to do it, but then died while it was still in production, so Steven Spielberg took over it. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very heartfelt, and at no point did I ever know where that movie was going. Next we have Mean Girls the Musical, which I gave 2 out of 5 stars, but it did not get a Razzie. But absolutely not. I did not have a good time with this, which is kind of wild to me because I saw the Broadway musical. I saw it when it came to Chicago. And yeah, it's not as good as the OG movie, but I still like enjoyed myself. I thought it was funny. I really liked the songs. But there was something about the movie's presentation that I was not all about. And I know one of my issues with the actress who played Katie, because while she was the best actress in my opinion, definitely the weakest singer. Like, what happened to, like, musicals are supposed to be boisterous, and yet there's really nothing boisterous about her, and, like, a few other people I felt like they were dumbed down. And then the guy who played the love interest, whose name I can't remember, he was so cute in the OG movie. He didn't sing at all in the movie, and I'm pretty sure in the musical he has his own part, so that was definitely a choice. I can see why it was a January release and was not released later, because January releases, oh, that scared the shit out of me. Hello, Carmine, you're back. January releases tend to not be great. You know what was a great movie though? Poor Things. And this is a Frankenstein retelling. It was a Best Picture nominee for 2024. I actually really liked this. I liked seeing the main character's development throughout the movie, where she was kind of infantilized in the beginning and made her way to a mature, grown woman. I thought it was fascinating. As much as I wanted Lily Gladstone to win the Oscar that year for Best Actress, like, I was able to forgive the fact that it went to Emma Stone, because I was telling people, if Lily doesn't win it, if she has to lose, it has to be to Emma Stone, because both of them put on great performances that year. Next, we have another 2024 Oscar nominee, which is The Zone of Interest, and this is based on a true story. It is about the commandant, I think is the proper term, of Auschwitz, and it's in his point of view. And I appreciate what this movie was trying to do. It's trying to, like, freak you out by showing the normalcy of his life, of his family's life, while quite literally living next door to horrors beyond our comprehension. And it clearly worked for a lot of people if you read reviews. Unfortunately, it did not work for me. I was bored out of my mind, and I hate to say this, I fell asleep in the theater. I really liked what this movie did with sound, actually, how it was so quiet, and what little music there was extremely loud, because again, that like jarring contrast was supposed to kind of freak you out. But that's when I would wake up, when something was super loud. I didn't give it a super low rating, only because, again, I appreciate what it was trying to do. So I didn't give it 2 out of 5 stars, but I did give it 2.5. Then I watched American Fiction, which is about a black man who is trying to get his novel published, but publishing companies don't think it's black enough. So in anger, to piss these people off, he writes a book in the most stereotypical way he can, and then publishing companies decide to publish that instead. And he's aghast about it, and the whole movie is essentially a conversation about the black experience, why publishers want certain stories but not others, and I actually really enjoyed this. I did think it was funny. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. Then I watched The Novice, which is about an overachiever who decides to join the rowing team. I only watched this because of Isabel Fuhrman, and people praised the shit out of this. To me, it wasn't like, I didn't hate it, but I didn't like it either. I think it's like the whole thing, it's a sports movie, and I just really think sports movies aren't for me. She put on a good performance for what it was, but maybe I shouldn't have watched it. At least it tried. I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars. Then I watched Maestro, which this actually made an honorable mention in my worst movies year. Not top 10, but it's definitely down there. This is the story of Leonard Bernstein. He's the composer for West Side Story, which is what I know him for, but I know he's a big name in Broadway and musical theater in general. I was bored, and I felt like I didn't really, and this movie's like 2.5 hours long, but I felt like I didn't really get to learn about who he was as a person and why he was such an important composer. And like, I went into this not really knowing much about him except West Side Story, so I feel like it says something that I still don't know much about him. Apparently, from what I read, West Side Story was groundbreaking for musical theater, but I wouldn't know because the movie spent like 30 seconds on it. So it's stuff like that. It was very choppy, and I know, like, Bradley Cooper made this trying so hard to win the Oscar. You could just tell. And then Carey Mulligan acted circles around him. It didn't really feel like a passion project. It just felt like true Oscar bait. It felt like he made this just so he can try to get a bunch of Oscars. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Then we have The Creator, which I kind of actually can't really remember what the synopsis of this for. This also made an honorable mention. I think from what I remember, this guy comes across this, like, it's a post-apocalyptic world, and this guy comes across this, like, robotic girl and has to save her. It was not. I watched it because it was an Oscar nominee. It was nominated for Best Visual Effects, which were stunning. But I can't really remember the story because I was so bored. I gave this 2 out of 5 stars, and it was honorable mention in my ranking number 11, so this is going to be at the very bottom of this tier. Then I watched It Happened One Night, which is an Oscar Best Picture winner with Clark Gable and the woman whose name I can't remember. I know she's pretty famous. And this is about a couple that meet on a train. It's a rom-com. It was really cute, but like, to me it was just okay. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Then we have Lisa Frankenstein, which is about a girl who accidentally brings a dead body to life and takes place in the 80s. 5 out of 5. It's getting the Oscar. We have another favorite movie of mine, and that was How Green Was My Valley, and I reacted to this, so you guys can go ahead and watch that. But this is about a Welsh family who work in the mines, and they want better for their younger son. And this movie broke me. The ending, oh, that mom. 4.5 out of 5 stars. Then we have Rustin, which is based on a true story about a guy whose name I can't remember. I just know his last name was Rustin, and he was a civil rights activist. He fought for rights for black people, but then also gay people because he was a gay black man. I did not literally scroll through my phone by watching this, but it's going in that tier rank anyway because I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Then we have another Best Picture nominee of 2024, and that is The Holdovers. And this is about a teacher and a student at a college or high school, whichever it was, who aren't well liked by their peers, and they're forced to spend the holidays together. This was okay to me overall. Like, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. But I did like it more than I thought I would. I was expecting to hate it, so that's why I didn't see it when it was in theaters, and then I only watched it because it got nominated. But it is actually a pretty good movie, and there was something about the ending that I really liked about it. Yet again, another Oscar Best Picture nominee, and that is Past Lives. And this is about 2 childhood friends who were growing up in South Korea, but then the girl moves. And then when she is an adult, she reaches out to him, and they meet up eventually. I really liked this. I thought this was a beautiful story. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars, and what I really liked about this movie is that it wasn't necessarily a love story. It was more so about unrequited love, and I really liked the discussion of the what could have been aspect. Then we have May December, which is Natalie Portman and What's Her Face's movie. And in this one, an actress is making a biopic about a woman who had sex with her student who was only like 12, 13 years old, and they did eventually marry each other. So the actress is studying the woman. It's kind of sort of based on a true story. It's inspired by a true story, but like a lot of creative liberties were taken. Natalie Portman's in it, like I said. This woman, I'm staring at her face, but I can't remember what her name is. She's in the Hunger Games. She's President Coin. And one of the kids is played by the live action Azula. Everyone loved this movie when it came out. I think you guys overhyped it. I don't have any opinion really other than that it was okay. Maybe this movie was just not necessarily for me, but I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Then we have the last Best Picture nominee, which is Anatomy of a Fall, and this is about a woman on trial because her husband was found dead. It's very obvious he fell out of a window, but we don't know if it was suicide or if she murdered him. I gave this movie 4 out of 5 stars. It definitely caught my attention. The only reason I docked a star was because at some point it kind of did lag a little. But I love how chaotic and loud the beginning was, because that loud music where you can't hear this woman trying to talk to her student, like, you know something messed up is about to happen. And I also like that by the end of the film, you still, like, yes, there's an answer in the trial, and realistically, you still don't know what the answer is. Did she kill him, or was it a suicide? Then there's Imaginary, which already gave a Razzie to. This was ranked number 10 in my worst video. It's about a woman who moves back into her childhood home with her new family, and then her haunted teddy bear haunts one of her stepdaughters. It was so fucking stupid. My first rewatch of the year was Amelie. Then we have Irish Wish, which is Lindsay Lohan being in love with her friend's fiance. They go to Ireland for the wedding. She wishes on a stone and is thrust into a universe where she's the one actually engaged to this guy. Finds out he's not all that, so another love interest comes in. I have 2 movies that I rated 1 out of 5 stars, and this is one of them. This is the second to worst. I ranked this number 2 in my worst movies video. What a bad film. It did inspire me to rewatch The Luck of the Irish, which I have not seen since I was a wee lass, And let me tell you, there was really nothing Irish about that movie. It was so fucking stereotypical, oh my god. But I had a lot of fun with how bad it was. Then I saw Sydney Sweeney's horror movie, which is called Immaculate, and it's about a nun who gets pregnant without having sex. This was just okay for me. I was actually really excited to see this because I do love, growing up in the Catholic Church, I do love a good horror movie surrounding it, and I just really liked this concept of a nun who's essentially reiterating the story of the Virgin Mary, and they turn that into a horror concept. I thought that was such a neat idea. The reason I thought it was just okay though was because the first 2 acts were kind of lagging a bit and felt formulaic. It was the 3rd act that really picked up and did its own thing, and I do give this movie props for being original. There was nothing literally demonic about this story, and Sydney Sweeney's acting was really weird to me. I don't watch Euphoria, so this was actually like my first thing I've seen her in. I thought her acting was pretty lackluster for the scenes where she was calm. It was the dramatic scenes where she really excelled, but anything other than that was pretty lackluster to me. So like I said, 3 out of 5 stars. But then I rewatched The Omen, which is about the Antichrist with Gregory Peck. I rewatched this because the new Omen movie was coming out, and I did think it was related to the entire trilogy. I didn't even know this was a trilogy until I was looking it up. So we got Damien Omen 2 and then Omen 3. And Damien Omen 2, he's a teenager. Omen 3, he's an adult, played by the guy in Jurassic Park. I didn't really like either of them. Omen 2 I thought was just a reiteration of the first movie. And then the second one kind of lost me like halfway through. I just stopped paying attention. But I didn't think they were like terrible. So they tried. I gave them 2.5 out of 5 stars. I need this to stop lagging. And the first Omen is a prequel. And you know what? My movie theater going experience itself was terrible because people don't know when to shut the fuck up. But when it comes to the movie itself and what I was able to comprehend despite all the noise, I really liked it. I thought it was a solid prequel. It made me uncomfortable. The acting is great. It triggered my Catholic guilt. The one thing I will say though is that it does kind of deviate, it does kind of retcon the original movie, because if you've seen the original, you do know that Damien is the son of a literal jackal, whereas in the first Omen, it's more so a metaphorical jackal. But that didn't bother me personally, so I had a really good time with it. I'm just surprised it was as good as it was, because I feel like usually when we see prequels or sequels of horror movies from back in the day, they're not as good. But this one was, and I think it'd be a solid standalone movie too. So then I watched Vincent Price's first movie, which is Service Deluxe, and it's a romance, and I don't actually remember much from it. I just remember thinking it was kind of cute at the time. So I'm not really going to change my mind about the rating, but I did give it 3.5, no, not even. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. And I probably don't remember much of it because I was scrolling through my phone. I also watched Wes Anderson's first movie, Bottle Rocket. And this is about 2 brothers who are basically con artists. They're played by the Wilson brothers, so Owen Wilson and whatever his brother's name is. And it was funny. It's just, Wes Anderson was still trying to find his visual style, so don't expect that in this movie, but I did really like the humor. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I feel like I don't have to say the ratings if you could see what tier ranks I'm putting them in, so I'm going to try to drop that. We have another top 10 movie, which is Spy Family Code White. It's based on the anime. It's not canon. You can actually see this as a standalone, which is actually why I rated it so high, not just because I'm a Spy Family fan. It's actually in one of my top 3 favorite movies of the year. Oh my god, every fucking time I do this, I forget to record. I watched Martin Scorsese's first ever movie, which is Who's That Knocking on My Door, and Martin Scorsese does love, from the beginnings, always loved making a movie about Italians, the mafia, and just making his main characters terrible people, and exploring the psyche of what makes someone like that. And I did actually really like this. Then we have Abigail, which is about a vampire ballerina. This movie was really fun. My only gripe with it was that I was expecting something a bit more campy, especially because it's from the creators of Ready or Not, which I love. But that's it. Otherwise, I didn't have any other expectations, and yet it still exceeded them, so it definitely made the short list. We have Summer Wars, which is an anime movie that's like about a video game, and they have to save the world and shit. It was fun. It was pretty to look at. Made the short list, and I even liked it better than Poor Things. We got a rewatch. I rewatched Tarzan because me and my coworker were talking about it, so I just had to do it. Tarot, which is about a bunch of teenagers playing with haunted tarot cards despite being told not to do that. This movie was terrible. I gave it a Razzie. And then I rewatched Spirit, which is about a horse, and let me tell you, Movies don't make music like this anymore. The music in that movie is a banger. It's another movie I watched because me and my coworker were talking about it. Then I watched an old school Oscar Best Picture winner, which is Mutiny on the Bounty. I shouldn't say old school because like Cavalcade and It Happened One Night are still older. It's another one with Clark Gable though. I watched 4 Clark Gable movies this year. And it's about a bunch of people on a boat who overthrow their captain. It's actually a really fun adventure story. And I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It's another movie I actually enjoyed much more than I thought I would. I was expecting to hate it and be bored out of my mind. But if you like adventure movies, I definitely recommend it. Another Best Picture winner, which is The Great Ziegfeld. This is actually based on a true story, and it's long. It's 3 hours long. The movie itself, I don't want to say was boring because I was like intrigued. Other parts I wasn't. But like the visuals were great, especially that sequence when they like the spinning stage and showed all those shows in one thing. That was so cool. I was doing chores while watching this at the same time, and that scene I had like to stop what I was doing. So can I scroll through my phone for the majority of the movie? Yes. But that one scene, no. I want y'all, if you ever watch this movie, I want y'all to pop a squat when you watch that scene. And then another Best Picture winner was The Life of Emile Zola. It was like interesting because I didn't know much about this man, but also at the same time, this movie was kind of boring for me, so admittedly, 2.5 out of 5 stars. But then I watched a documentary about the Beach Boys that was on Disney Plus, and I grew up listening to the Beach Boys, really like them. I thought the documentary was definitely an enjoyable watch because I loved hearing all the music again, but it was a very basic documentary for me. I feel like if you're well versed in who the Beach Boys are, you're gonna know everything in that documentary. It doesn't really dig deep into who they were. Like, for example, when it talks about Brian Wilson and his mental issues, it mentioned that he had them at one point, but it did not go into detail at all. It was like a 5-second mention. It didn't talk about what he was diagnosed with. It didn't talk about the guy, like, purposely misdiagnosing him so that he can get more money out of him. Like, that's a whole thing. It didn't discuss any of that. It didn't discuss Charles Manson, though. But did I have fun watching it? Yes. And that is what matters. But then I watched another favorite of the year, and I ranked this number 2. Let me tell you, watching A Streetcar Named Desire without having read the synopsis first was a fucking trip. I would risk it all for Marlon Brando, even though he played an asshole in this. 5 out of 5. That's all I'm going to say about this movie because I do talk about it a lot in the best movie video, but what an experience. Then I watched The Watchers, which is about Dakota Fanning getting stuck in the forest and she can't move because of these things are watching her. It was so bizarre and like stupid and not well put together. I only watched it for her. I didn't like hate it as much as all these movies, and oh, absolutely not. So they tried. It is an interesting story because it brings in Irish mythology, which I think is really cool. I just wish the execution was much better than what it was. I'm gonna put that there. I watched Mickey Mouse Through the Mirror, which is a short. It's a Mickey Mouse going through the events of Alice in Wonderland. I just needed something to watch while I was at the airport, so there it was. It was cute. Theoretically could scroll through your phone. I couldn't because I watched it on my phone. Then I watched Mickey Mouse Get a Horse. This is a rewatch because I had to watch this for an animation class I took in college. I highly recommend watching it, going in blind because it's so cool. This was around the time I went to Disneyland and me and my friends got to meet Baymax and Hero, so of course I had to rewatch Big Hero 6 when I got home. I reacted to The Call of the Wild, which was based on Jack London's book. Thought it was just okay. Like, it's a fun adventure story. I think my gripe with it was that it was more so in it's my 3rd Clark Gable movie of the year. It was more so in his point of view than the dog's. I actually really liked seeing it in the dog's point of view. But I did appreciate it was actually one linear plot, whereas the book was more so episodic. So, didn't give it a high rating, but it's not that bad either. I'm gonna put it right there. Then I watched a best movie of the year, which was Inside Out 2. What a solid sequel. I think it made my top 5 movies of the year. I don't know, like the way the way I rank these kind of mushes in my mind. But I really liked that one. One I did not like was Horizon American Saga Chapter. What a boring ass movie, giving that a Razzie. I saw Maxine. A lot of people were disappointed by it. I thought it was fun, but just okay. I have a very unpopular opinion that X and Pearl are incredibly overrated. I did not love them as much as other people did. So I didn't go into Maxine with high expectations, which I think helped for my case. It was just fun, a good fun slasher that you don't have to think too much about, but I still think Pearl is the best in the whole trilogy. I watched the movie The Imaginary, which is an anime movie about an imaginary friend trying to make it back to his friend who's in a coma. This was just cute. There's literally not much more else to say other than that it was cute. I'm probably not going to rewatch it again. Speaking of a rewatch though, I did rewatch Meet the Robinsons and I reacted to that too, and boy does it hold up. I cried at the end. And then I watched a Best Picture winner, which is You Can't Take It With You. I actually don't remember what this was about, but I did it because I was bored, honestly. And the meal I was cooking took the entire movie to make. But I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars and nothing lower because Jimmy Stewart is in it and I do love Jimmy Stewart. Then I watched Rushmore, which is another Wes Anderson flick. And it's about a kid who's a fucking prick, but he's obsessed with his school. And let me tell you, this character was an asshole, but boy was he compelling and funny. I really did enjoy this movie. Deadpool versus Wolverine, come on, this definitely makes the short list. I talked about this in my honorable mentions. I love the music in this. I thought it was hilarious. It's my least favorite Deadpool movie in the trilogy, but I still had a great time. Definitely a fun theater experience too. Then we saw Trap. Me, myself, and I, we saw Trap. It was about Josh Hartnett, who is my crush. I would risk it all for that man. He plays a serial killer in this, and then he's at a concert, and everyone at the concert, security knows, and they're trying not to let him leave. I read that M. Night Shyamalan only made this movie so that his daughter had a chance to sing the song she wrote, and we do love a good girl dad. So I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. Like, it's not like great cinema, but I did have a fun time. We'll put it here. Then while I was in Salem, of all places, especially given the plot twist of this film, I watched The Autopsy of Jane Doe with a couple friends. And in this movie, it really tried, because I was enjoying the first 2 acts. I thought they really had something going on, because I kept questioning myself, like, where is this body from? Like, what could the answer possibly be? But for some reason, it really lost me in that 3rd act. And then me and those 2 friends also rewatched The Witch, which is also very fitting because it's about New England witches and we were in Salem. What a great movie. And then I watched a documentary called The Secret Life of Orangutans, and I love orangutans. So I have no shame in saying that this made the shortlist. Of course, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. And another movie that made the shortlist is The Fly, which is about a scientist that accidentally turns himself into a fly. It's a Vincent Price movie, which is why I watched it. I'm trying to watch all his films. I reacted to it. 4 out of 5 stars. I don't have much to say about why I gave it 4 out of 5 other than that it was just fun. Then a top movie of the year, which was House of Usher. I also reacted to this. Very creepy and eerie. Vincent Price definitely did a great job playing Roderick. And then I rewatched Signs because this movie scared the shit out of me as a kid, so I'm like, oh, let's see if it's still scary now, and it is definitely not. I cannot believe I was so scared over it, but I did cry during this rewatch. And of course I went to the theater to see Beetlejuice, and let me tell you, this movie was such a mess of a narrative. Like, it just feels like Tim Burton got tired of us asking for more material and he was like, okay, here, fine. But listen, I loved every minute of this movie. It was chaotic and you don't have time to breathe, but I don't care. It's number 11 on my honorable mentions list. Then we have The Front Room, which is about Brandy's mother-in-law, who is a racist. She is part of the Confederate program. I don't want to say Confederate Army, obviously, because this takes place in 2024, but some Confederate program. The mom believes she has the spirit of Jesus in her, and I was like, that's fucking bizarre. What a movie. 3 out of 5 stars. It's very much false advertising because this movie's not at all scary, but it was just absurd and I couldn't look away. It's not great, but I can't say I hated it either. I did, however, hate The Deliverance. They claimed it was a true story, but ain't no way they did not take what are they called? Creative liberties, because there's some whack-ass things in that movie I have a hard time believing actually happened. And actually, I like the drama aspect of this film more than the horror. The horror felt very gimmicky, but I wanted to learn more about the drama. Wanted to learn more about the family. Like, why is the mom an alcoholic? How did she like really affect these kids? Can we explore that instead? I seem to be of the very unpopular opinion, Speak No Evil is not good. Like, it's obviously not in these levels, but I did not have a good time. I thought all the characters were insufferable to the point where it was not an enjoyable watch. The Wicker Man is a 1970s movie, and it's about a cop who goes to an island after hearing about the disappearance of a little girl, but everyone on the island acts like she never existed. And this movie's funny because I was expecting a horror movie and I got a cute little musical instead. Then I went to the theater to see The Wild Robot, which is about a robot who is teaching a little bird how to fly. And who knew that movie would absolutely wreck me? It's in my honorable mentions in my video. It definitely makes the short list. It was definitely up there. We got Pit and the Pendulum, which is another Vincent Price, Edgar Allan Poe movie. This was okay. It was enjoyable. It was just like a typical like B movie. I love the costumes. The makeup was funny to me because they're clearly still in like 1960s styles makeup, and I just thought the acting was a little over the top. The Invisible Man, which is about a scientist who goes invisible and wants to kill people, was like enjoyable in the sense I could scroll through my phone, but I did think the character was hilarious, and I was also impressed with the practical effects, especially when he would take the wrappings off and like you actually couldn't see him. There were some like moments where it was clearly like two different films on top of one another, but there was just other times where it blended really well, and I thought that was impressive. I rewatched the first live-action Scooby-Doo movie, which was real fun, and then we got the second Joker movie, which was fucking shit. This made one of my nominees, or one of my honorable mentions for my worst movie video. I'm so disappointed in how it turned out. I liked the idea of the musical elements being in his head. I just wish they were more over the top and dramatic because it's a musical. I want you to be boisterous and campy, and I was just really upset and disappointed with the direction the movie went in. If you're gonna make a movie where the villain is the main character, like make him do evil shit, not what I was seeing near the end of this film. It just kind of felt like a slap in the face to the people who liked the first movie. Because yes, there was like a subset of fans of the first movie who didn't realize we're not supposed to be rooting for the Joker. And this movie was a reminder of that because it's hitting you over the head with the fact that, hey, you shouldn't be actually rooting for him. But I feel like the majority of us who've seen the first film got that. So the spoon feeding in the second film just felt like it was insulting my intelligence. I watched that New Salem's Lot movie, which was just terrible. It was like all plot, no character development, just going from point A to point B. Why is this lagging? Point A to point B with no development in between scenes. I watched Poltergeist, which is about a girl who disappears in her haunted house. I was so scared to watch this as a kid, and this year I was like, I finally got to do it, and I can't believe I was so scared of it as a kid because I'm watching this like, that's it. I feel like this movie's a bit overhyped. But I didn't hate it. I did give it 3 out of 5 stars. One movie I was impressed by because I was not expecting to like it, and that was Barbarian. And this is about a woman who goes to her Airbnb in a really sketchy area of Detroit just to find someone already there. There's a scene in the beginning of the movie that's one of the scariest shots I've ever seen in a horror movie, like just with the lighting and what's happening. And let me tell you, at no point did I ever know where this movie was going. It was crazy. Definitely not a boring movie. I had a couple friends over. One of them had never seen some classic Halloween movies, so I did rewatch Hocus Pocus with her. And we also rewatched Nightmare Before Christmas. That's my favorite movie of all time. And I was like, that wasn't on our list to rewatch, but I was just flabbergasted she'd never seen it, so I forced her to watch it. And then I saw Jennifer's Body, which is about a woman who becomes an incubus and now she's killing men, blah, blah, blah. Y'all love to talk about this movie. While I did have fun with it, I also thought y'all overhyped it just a bit. I was definitely expecting something campier. I watched The Thing, which is about a bunch of scientists stuck in Antarctica because a thing comes alive. And this was one I wasn't expecting to like as much as I did. I'm not a huge sci-fi person, which is what this is. But the thing, like the creature itself, was like, we need to bring back practical effects when it comes to monsters and stuff, because like, it's definitely one of the freakiest horror creatures I've ever seen. It genuinely made me scared and uncomfortable, and I really liked that ending, and to the fact that to this day we're still debating about whether or not someone or both of them were infected. So this definitely made the shortlist. Suspiria, this is about a ballerina who goes to a school and something is definitely not right. I actually like this one as well. I forgot why I thought it wasn't great, because like it's kind of mushing in my mind with other movies, but I remember really liking the sound engineering of this film. It's kind of shit, and apparently like back then 1970s movies from Italy didn't really do sound well, but for this movie and what it was about, like that loudness where you can kind of hear speakers fighting for their lives and like how everyone seems dubbed, it worked for the mood. Missing Halloween is about two kids who meet each other and become friends while trick-or-treating, and this made number 10 overall on the list, which is shocking because it's a short film with a plot point I feel like I've seen before, but like my jaw was still on the floor, so I have to give it major props, and that's why it deserves an Oscar. So my camera battery died, and I was exhausted the day I was filming that, so this is a whole brand new day. It is just as cold, but my apartment is warmer, so no big wearable blanket, unfortunately. But let's jump right back into the video. So we left off with the last Man on Earth. I was gonna say The Last Man Standing. That's a whole different movie. The Last Man on Earth is about Vincent Price being what he thought was the last human on Earth, and he's a vampire hunter. And I was really intrigued by this, and I thought the first two acts were really strong, even if Act 1 did have like a weird voiceover, but I go over in one of my movie wrap-ups, like it was a weird choice, but I understood why it was made. The last act is kind of what ruined this for me, and it's funny because I saw the ending coming. I knew exactly how it was gonna end, and yet I was still kind of pissed off. So I did give this only 2.5 stars, but it's a high 2.5. So they tried, they really did, and they had me in the first two acts. Unfortunately, it just fell flat for me. So it's a high 2.5, just like Zone of Interest. Like, I get it, I just wish I personally liked it better. Then we have The Menu, which is about a bunch of rich people going to an island and Ralph Fiennes is making them dinner. Visually, this movie was stunning. I felt like I was watching a cooking show, and I really liked the chef. I was expecting him to be like a Gordon Ramsay type asshole, and instead we got a guy who was clearly very anxious and nervous. He knew his craft, and he did take it personally if you didn't like it, but he wasn't mean. He was very anxious, and I like that idea in this thriller. It's just, I believe this movie was so beyond overhyped. When Twitter was talking about it, everyone was like, oh my god, it's so deep and meaningful, and I think it's really on the nose. I had fun with the movie, which at the end of the day, I guess that's what counts. So I didn't dislike this by any means. I wish I didn't go into it with these preconceived notions. So it only got 3 out of 5 stars for me, but a high 3 out of 5. Then we have The Ritual, which is about a group of guys who go on a hiking trip after one of their friends was murdered. This deserved a Razzie. I did not like this. I think I ranked it like number 9 on my worst list. But then we have Woman of the Hour, which is based on a true story, and I did not know that going into the movie, but it takes place in the 70s, and it's about a woman who goes on some dating game show, and one of the contestants is a serial killer, but nobody knows that except for like a singular person in the audience. And then we're watching that, we're watching some like past murders that the serial killer did. Again, I didn't know this was a true story. I didn't know until the end of the movie. So this whole time, I'm like at the edge of my seat wondering what the hell is gonna happen. So I think this was extremely well done, especially because it's Anna Kendrick's debut as a director. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It didn't make my honorable mentions list, but it's definitely up there. It's definitely, I think I ranked it like at least top 20 of the year. But speaking of favorites, we have The Telltale Heart, which is a short film based on the same story by Edgar Allan Poe. So this actually made one of my top movies of the year. I think I put it around here. And then we have Malignant, and this is about a woman who was living in a time with a bunch of murders happening, and yet she was seeing them through the eyes of the serial killer, and you're trying to figure out what's going on and why that's happening. And I was warned this movie because it's James Wan, and I do like his Conjuring movies, but someone told me it's a completely different vibe, it's really campy, and I was like, okay, I'll accept that. So I went into it knowing it was going to be a different vibe, and someone described this movie as expect it to not be a good movie, but a good time. And I'm inclined to agree with that, because do I think the movie's good? No. But did I have a somewhat okay time? Yes, but I was more so just like confused, just staring at the screen like what in the first Harry Potter story is going on. So it's not, I didn't rate it low. They definitely tried. And I liked it a lot better than other movies in this tier rank, so I'm just gonna put it around there. What an experience. I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars, but I still want you guys to watch it. But then there is a movie I didn't like at all. It didn't get a Razzie, but it did get an honorable mention, and that is El Conde. I really liked the visual aesthetics of this when it was nominated for an Oscar last year. I went into this not actually knowing what it was about. I just thought it was about vampires, and I didn't realize until like a good 10 minutes into the film that this is a satirical piece about real life politicians. So when I realized I was watching more so a satirical piece rather than a horror movie, because this was advertised as a horror movie to me, I lost interest. And then I didn't really think it was a good satire, and there's just one plot twist where, like, my British friends, I really need you to see this movie for that plot twist because I want to see your reaction. But what the hell? So absolutely not. It was definitely not a good one. Then I had a day of rewatches, and so one of them was the live action Scooby-Doo movie, the second one, and then Peak Cinema, which was Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. This movie still bangs. That song needs to be on Spotify. I rewatched Paranorman, which is about a boy. Oop, what happened there? Well, anyway, I rewatched Paranorman, which is about a boy who could see ghosts, the same company that made Coraline, Kubo and the Two Strings. And it was fitting because, again, went to Salem this year, it deals with witches. And then I watched what I thought was going to be a rewatch, which is Bram Stoker's Dracula, and that's with Gary Oldman and Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves. 30 minutes into the movie, I realized I either never actually seen it, but I've seen clips and like manipulated myself into thinking that I've seen this, or I started it one day and just never finished it. So I'm counting it as a new to me movie, and it definitely made the shortlist. It actually made one of my honorable mentions. The only thing I didn't like about this movie was Keanu Reeves. I thought he didn't really do a good job, but Winona and Gary Oldman were hot. Then we have La Combina, which is it's a short film from Spain, I believe. It's about a man who gets stuck in a telephone booth and he can't get out. I needed like a cheat for my 31 and 30 Days Halloween movies because I was so far behind. Somewhere online this was recommended. People were like, it's creepy. I didn't think it was that scary. I really liked the silent film era style acting. I really did like that. So they definitely tried. I guess I was just expecting more out of it, but maybe this movie's just not for me. I did put it around here. But then I watched The Shining for the first time, and this movie's iconic. It's with Jack Nicholson and Shelley Duvall, and this is about a family that move into a hotel so the dad can watch it over the off season, and things are amiss. At first I didn't know how I felt when I finished the movie, because I could tell it's an objectively good movie. I could see why people like it, but for some reason, for me personally, I wasn't for some reason. But then the more I thought about it, the more I really grew to love the film. I really liked seeing Jack Nicholson, his descent into madness, going absolutely batshit. I really liked Shelley Duvall in this movie. I know like that's not an unpopular opinion now, but apparently when the movie first came out, critics slammed her. So maybe I'm going into this with like a bias now, but I thought she did a great job showing that fear and anxiety around her own husband. Like there's just a different type of fear that she had that was like kind of relatable in the sense. So I think she did a good job. But I did put it around here. I did like it better than The Thing and The Fly, so I'm gonna leave it right there. Next, I was not having a good night. I had like relationship issues, you know, the usual. So I ordered a piece of pizza, not a piece, I ordered a whole pizza. I needed like a bad, but so bad it's good movie because I didn't want to think too hard about something. So my friends recommended the Disney Channel original Mom's Gonna Date with a Vampire. This is about two kids who are grounded, but they all had events in line to do. So they convinced their mom to go on a date, not realizing they set her up with Mr. Sheffield from The Nanny, and he plays a vampire in this. And like, was this movie bad? Yeah, but I probably would have liked it if I was still a Disney Channel kid, if I was like 5, 6 years old. So like it did what needed to be done. Like it was exactly what I needed. I needed something terrible to not think that hard about. But it's an objectively bad movie in my opinion. So it's on the very high end of oh girl, absolutely not. I finally seen Abbott and Costello Meets Frankenstein, which is about Dracula and Frankenstein. Dracula wants to bring back Frankenstein, so now the two comedians are in shambles over it. It's a funny comedy. It brings in all like the Universal monsters. So I was not expecting to like this. I was worried going into it because I was worried the humor, because it's from the 1940s, so I was worried the humor wouldn't translate to today. But I thought it was hilarious. Like, I was laughing out loud. I had a great time, and I'm excited to see more of their movies, so I am going to make it in the short list. I think I put it around here, because I do like Poor Things better, but like everything else, like, you feel. The last movie I watched in October for my Halloween season was The Monster Squad, which is about the Universal monsters coming to life, and the kids have to shut it down. It's very clearly inspired by Abbott and Costello Meets Frankenstein, which I did not realize going into it. But it's fun. It's a cult classic. It's goofy. Like, it's not a shortlist film by any means, but it was definitely enjoyable. It was on the high end of enjoyable too. It was cute. I could see myself rewatching it in like a few years. So now we make our way to the November films from here to here. This whole row is all November. And again, I didn't forget, I just did not have time to make a November wrap up. So I'm gonna go into a bit more detail. The first one, I finally watched Gone with the Wind. I am trying to watch all the Oscar Best Picture winners, whether they were well received, terribly received, they're good movies, bad movies. This is about the life of Scarlett O'Hara living during the Civil War and Reconstruction era. So Scarlett O'Hara is from Georgia, so her friends and family, they all joined the Confederate Army, and they have to face the consequences of that for the rest of the story. I read the book in 2023, and I can't lie, the writing was great. I really liked the relationship between, as toxic as it was, it's not a healthy relationship in the slightest. I really liked the dynamic between Scarlett and Rhett. I thought it was like a train wreck you couldn't look away from. But at the end of the day, I find the morals of Gone with the Wind like reprehensible, because it's a love for the Deep South. The first half of Gone with the Wind, the movie, manages to romanticize the Confederacy even more than the book does. I mean, the opening scrawl literally says, "The Confederates, the time where masters were kings and owned their slaves," and I was like, whoa, like taken aback by that. Vivien Leigh was an impeccable choice for Scarlett, because Scarlett's whole thing is that she's just an unlikable character. She's manipulative, she's selfish, and Vivien Leigh portrayed that beautifully. And then the second half of this movie was where I was kind of like, I don't want to say it was losing me, I just thought it was an interesting choice that the second half kind of drops the politics, which, given the morals of the politics, we could argue back and forth that that's a good thing. But writing-wise, I thought it was a choice. In the last half of the story, that's when Scarlett and Rhett start drifting away from each other. And politics in the book, it was a huge reason for why that was, because they were at odds, they weren't agreeing. So having dropped the politics in the movie, some of their actions didn't make sense. So it's a lot of like mixed emotions too, because like the costuming in this movie is beautiful. Like that curtain dress, I was obsessed. Some of the shots in this movie, especially when she's like walking through all the bodies, amazing shots. Like this movie was clearly innovated for its time, like on a technical scale. It's just when you talk about like the story itself, that's when it gets weird. From the story perspective, I think of it the same way as I did with the book, like especially when you talk about the relationship between Scarlett and Rhett. It is a train wreck you can't look away from. And I have a lot of fun reading and watching train wrecks I can't look away from. So I'm going to put it in good and can scroll through film. Like, it's a 3 out of 5 star film for me, mostly because of how amazed I was on a technical scale. But story-wise, it is where it kind of loses you. So it's like definitely like a bottom 3 out of 5 stars. And I am glad I watched it. I could scratch it off the Oscar Best Picture winner. I think it is good to look at all media, whether it's like morally good or morally bad, to learn from the history. Because I will tell you, I was still learning a lot about the Confederacy when I was reading the book, because some of that stuff I was like, I can't believe y'all genuinely believed this. You can learn things from all types of media. Then we have the movie Here, which is about a house, and we see it evolve from when it was like first made, like a piece of land I should say too, from when it was first made up until modern day. It's basically Forrest Gump, but a house is the main character, and it's so much like Forrest Gump to the point it has the same director, and Forrest Gump and Jenny also star in this, so Tom Hanks and Robin something, I forgot what her last name is. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Like, I don't like it more than these, I don't like it more than these films, I don't like it less than these. Like, at some point all these films kind of like rating wise. They all run together, they're all equal. I just wish the plot itself was somewhat different, because the point of the story is that we're supposed to see different families at different times. So we have a family from the 1910s, one from the 20s, 40s. Tom Hanks' family is supposed to be the modern family. We see the Native Americans that lived on the land before the house was built. I think I would have liked it better if all these families had equal screen time and not so much of it was given to Tom Hanks' family. So much of it was given to Tom Hanks' family that it felt like they were the main characters, and it should have been just them in the film. You know what I mean? And like, part of me gets why they were given so much screen time, and it's because they're the one family that was there from the beginning up until the end of their lives. So like, I get why the main focus was them, but at the same time, if you really want a plot where you're going through time with different families, give everyone equal screen time. But the most impressive thing about this movie is that it's told in the same angle throughout the whole thing, and I thought that was kind of cool. But then we have The Royal Tenenbaums, which is another Wes Anderson film, and this movie is about the Tenenbaum family. All three kids have their own thing as children, but as adults they're all kind of fucked in the head. The dad claims he's dying of cancer, so that's how the whole family comes back together. This movie was kind of chaotic in a sense. Just so much was going on with this family, and it was like weirdly, where do I want to put this? It was like weirdly realistic, because I know all families got issues. I really liked the dad. Was he a dick? Yes. He was a terrible person, but a very compelling character. And out of all the Wes Andersons I've seen, I think it's one of my favorites. Then we have Heretic. This is about a guy who invites these two Mormon missionaries into his home, and they have a discussion on religion. But given that this is the thriller genre, shit fucking ensues, because he won't let them leave the house. And I really like this movie. This makes a short list, and it made one of my honorable mentions in the video. And I was at the edge of my seat because the guy, Hugh, what's his name? It's not Hugh Laurie. Hugh Grant. The main question he asked in this film is, what is the one true religion? And I was really excited to see what that answer was. It was very well acted out by all three people involved. You had Hugh Grant, and the two Mormon girls. I know one's really popular because of Yellow Jackets, whatever that show is called. What the fuck's her name? Sophie Thatcher. And it's funny, the two girls, I thought they did such a good job because they remind me of the Mormon missionaries I came across in college, just to find out they grew up in the church. So that worked out really well. I did really like Hugh Grant's answer, what the answer ended up being about the one true religion. And like, I get it, but I also really liked how the characters handled that and like what their retorts were, and I really liked how the movie itself ended. I thought it was a perfect conclusion. And then my favorite part of this movie was the fact that he compared the relationship between Christianity, Judaism, and Islam to the Hollies, Radiohead, and Lana Del Rey controversy. Never in my life did I think those two things would be compared, but now that I've seen it, makes total sense. And then the next movie I really enjoyed, this made one of my top movies of the year, and that is the movie Look Back. So this is by the same author of Chainsaw Man, Tatsuki Fujimoto, and Look Back, I think I rated this like number 9. So Look Back is about two girls who share a love for making manga. The movie follows them from childhood to adulthood, and you see as kids that they're working together, but at adulthood, that's when their lives separate. And it was one of those experiences where watching the movie, I had no reaction. Once it ended and I was alone with my thoughts, I realized how much I loved the movie, and I made a video about it, so I don't want to go into major detail, but it can basically be summed up as they were girls together. Then we had one of those like Netflix Hallmark-esque Christmas movies, and it's called Meet Me at Christmas, and this woman makes a deal with a man that if neither of them are dating someone, by the next Pentatonix concert, because Pentatonix, they'll start dating one another, and then now it's a year later, she has to find these tickets and meets a guy, blah blah blah. This movie goes as most of these Hallmark-esque movies go. I don't know what Pentatonix has on Netflix, because I refuse to believe anyone's favorite band is Pentatonix, and that they're as famous as the movie made them out to be. And I was kind of shocked and flabbergasted that Pentatonix allowed themselves to be portrayed as assholes in this movie. And not only that, but like, this movie just felt like one big commercial for Pentatonix. It's very weirdly acted. Like it's acted like a commercial too. So I will God, I don't even know. At least you tried. So I will put it here, because they did get a few laughs out of me. So I didn't get it. I gave it 2.5, not 2, but what a weird movie. But then another weird movie I watched was Wolf Children, and this is about a woman who has babies with a man who turns into a wolf. He dies, so now she's alone with these two kids who have the same genetics that he does. This made the shortlist. It's emotional because you are watching a single mom with trying to adapt to her two kids, and you feel bad for her, and the kids are adorable. So I'm gonna put it like right here. Then we have Red One, which is when Chris Evans is this hacker. Santa Claus gets stolen, so the people in the North Pole are like, hey, Chris Evans, can you help us? And it's stupid, but like a fun stupid. I do think the reviews are being a little too harsh. Like it's a good family movie, so 3 out of 5. But then another stupid movie I watched that's not a fun stupid is Hot Frosty, and it's when Lacey Chabert, or Gretchen Wieners, falls in love with a man who used to be a snowman, and it's a Hallmark-esque movie, Netflix Hallmark-esque movie. This would have been so much better if the guy who wrote it just went the not Hallmark route. Like, I think this genuinely could have been funny, like so ridiculous it's funny. But he didn't go that. I did like it better than Meet Me Next Christmas, but like it wasn't that route, so it was corny, and like you have to have a lot of suspension of disbelief because she falls in love with the statue in like 2 days. And arguably she was also like one of the only sane people, because all these people in this town fell for it right away. They're like, oh yeah, he used to be a statue, you should love him anyway. And she's like, what? So the fact it took her 2 days to fall in love with him is actually a miracle. They also made a Mean Girls reference. It was weird, it's stupid. I don't know, have fun. Another film that's gonna go into that level, into that tier rank, is Dogtooth, which is by the guy who did like Poor Things, The Favorite, Yargos, whatever. This was another weird one. I'm gonna actually put this here. Boring, very boring movie that somehow managed to be better than all of this. It's about this family, these parents that are making their kids live in isolation, and they're teaching these kids different words. So like, at one point, the female genital is actually called a keyboard. So like weird shit like that. And it's just, if you don't like sex in movies, do not watch this movie, because there are some things I was watching like, and it was just weird. I don't like it. A movie I do like is of course Wicked. Ooh, I cannot go into detail about this movie because then this video would never ever end. But I've always loved Wicked. I've always been a Wizard of Oz girly. Wicked has been one of my favorite musicals since high school, since middle school, I should say. And I'm so glad the movie's out. I was so worried about it, like, because I know it was in production hell for years. And I was worried that we waited, you know, however many years for a shit movie. I was worried when they said they were going to split into 2 parts. But I had no issue with this. Like, do I think the duration could be a little shorter than 2:45? Like, yeah, it should have been 2:20. Because, like, I think there were a couple scenes, like the Something Bad scene and Defying Gravity couple, and I'm holding up 3. Like, they were dragged out a bit. But this is one of those movies where, like, I had so much fun and I was so giddy while watching it, I could forgive the flaws and just hope, you know, the next movie fixes them. So, I'm going to be basic and say this was my favorite movie of the year. Then I did watch my least favorite movie of the year, which is The Merry Gentleman. This gets a Razzie. It was so bad. It's another girl. It's about a former Broadway dancer who goes back to her parents' little bar that they own in a small town. It used to be like a concert hall, a famous one, but not anymore. So she starts this like stripper show to get to like raise money for them. The mom from Wizards of Waverly Place is the landlord, and Chad Michael Murray is in it, and it was just really bad. The biggest mistake was making this a Hallmark-esque movie, because it's a wannabe Magic Mike movie, but it's rated PG. So that should tell you all you need to know. If you want to find out more, watch my worst movies video. But because I'm in my Wicked, you know, Wizard of Oz era, I did rewatch The Wizard of Oz on Thanksgiving. And then the last movie I watched in November was Our Little Secret with Lindsay Lohan. This is another Netflix movie. And this is about Lindsay dating someone. Her ex-boyfriend is dating another. And then little do they know, their partners are brother and sister, so they find each other at the same family gathering for Christmas. And I thought this was going to be a Hallmark-esque movie, but it's not. Like, rom-coms aren't actually my thing, so I'm not going to give it like 5 out of 5 stars. It's in this tier rank. We'll put it here for shits and giggles. It's not Hallmark-esque, which I think saved this movie. So it was rated accordingly. You know, there's swear words. They act like families act. and it was genuinely funny. Like, the scene where everything was revealed was so messy, so I do need you guys to watch this. And now we move on to Christmas. I watched a bunch of movies in December. So one of them, I was trying to watch 25 New to Me. So at this point, I think this movie's like number 6 because I included the Christmas movies I watched in November. We got Christmas on My Mind, which is about a woman. It's a Hallmark movie starring Alice Cullen from Twilight, and it's about a woman who has amnesia, so she goes to her ex-boyfriend thinking they're still engaged. This was bad, the way Hallmark movies are typically bad. I gave this, it was an honorable mention in my worst video. It was boring, and I was also just kind of flabbergasted by the fact that she was kind of cheating on her current fiance. Like, that really never got, because at the end of the movie, they do as these movies do, she ends up with the guy. But like, the current fiance, that situation was never resolved, and I thought that was weird. But then I watched a short called An Almost Christmas Story, which is a Disney Plus original, and this is about an owl that gets lost from his family because the tree he was in is the tree they use for the Rockefeller Christmas tree. And him and this girl are trying to go home. It's a very simple story, but I found myself crying for an owl named Moon. And her name is Luna, so they essentially have the same name, and I did think that was kind of cute. So 4 out of 5 stars for no other reason that it was adorable. I don't know how high I ranked this. You know what? I'll put it like right here. No. Right here. Then we have Jingle All the Way, which is about Arnold Schwarzenegger who forgot to buy a toy that his little kid played by young Anakin Skywalker wants, so he's trying to find it Christmas Eve. 2 out of 5 stars, but the same way that Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire is. Like, I probably would have liked it much better if I was a kid. We have That Christmas, which takes place in England. It's about different families celebrating Christmas. It's told in the same way that Love Actually is told, and they even make a Love Actually reference. And this movie had no business being as cute as it was. Like, it's 4 out of 5 stars purely for the vibes, the same way as this one is. So those Christmas movies I'm going to put together. And then we have Mary, which is the story of the Virgin Mary from before she met Joseph up until like a few days after Jesus' birth. A lot of people I saw don't like this movie because they think it's not biblically accurate. I don't like this movie because I thought it was boring. So absolutely not. We have a short I didn't mean to watch, but I fell down a rabbit hole, and it's called Oban. We'll just put it here, I guess. And it tells us it's a true story of a woman who survived Hiroshima. And I really love the animation for it. We have Babes in Toyland, which I react to but didn't have time to post, so who knows when that's going up. But 3 out of 5 stars. My thing with this, it was a fucking fever dream. It's told by a comedy duo they're living through like fairy tales, like Little Bo Peep, nursery rhymes is the word I'm looking for. I don't even know. I'm gonna put it there. I don't even know because I don't know where to put it. It's a fever dream. I watched Gremlins for the first time. I was horrified of this movie as a kid, the same way I was horrified of E.T., so that's why it took me so long to watch it. There's one scene that still scares me, and it's that woman in the wheelchair, because what the fuck? It was kind of a fever dream too, but I did enjoy it, so it's going to be a high 3.5. We have The Christmas Martian, which is exactly what it sounds like. A Christmas Martian comes down from Mars to celebrate with kids. This was bad, but like a 2.5 bad because like it was kind of endearing. It feels like a bunch of guys just wanted to make a goofy movie and did not take itself seriously. This movie does not take itself seriously at all, which really helps. Then I watched a documentary called Christmas with Walt Disney, which is just about how Walt Disney used to celebrate Christmas with his family and what he would do at the Disney parks. It is pure Disney propaganda, but did it get me? Yes, I had a lot of fun with this pure Disney propaganda, so it was very enjoyable. The Christmas Star, which is about a bunch of kids who think an escaped prisoner is Santa, and it has the trope I fall for every time, which is the grumpy old man who learns to love. Same concept, the same trope that Up uses, and it's funny because it's the same guy. And I went into this thinking it was going to be a crappy like Disney Channel original movie, while it's not like Oscar worthy, I actually really enjoyed myself. So this is on the high end of an enjoyable watch. I caught myself tearing up a few times. Then we have Winnie the Pooh, A Very Merry Pooh Year. I went into this thinking I've never seen it before, but it was then I went on Letterboxd and discovered I have actually seen it. If that tells you how remarkable it is. I definitely rated it lower this time around because it felt like two completely different movies. So I will not be rewatching it anytime soon. Then we have Mickey Saves Christmas, which is a stop motion short that Disney made. This is about Santa losing his presents, so Mickey and pals go to the North Pole to make them so they could still have a Christmas. It was really cute. I was expecting to not like it, for it to be like super juvenile and like, you know, the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse type of juvenile. The animated show, you know, not the one with Annette Funicello. But I thought it was cute. I had a fun time, and I was really impressed with I was actually really impressed with the stop motion. So it's definitely up there in the 3 out of 5 star rank. But that being said, I watched a couple movies that I'm not a fan of. We got 'Twas the Night, which is about a kid whose uncle is played by Brian, whatever his name is, the Breaking Bad guy. And they steal Santa's sleigh. It's a Disney Channel original movie. And like, it's good for what it is. It's an objectively bad movie, but good for what it is. Probably would have liked it if I was a kid, so it's on the high end of, oh girl, absolutely not. And then we have Mickey and the Very Many Christmases, which is when he wishes for more. He wishes Christmas was every day, quickly finds out, no, you don't want that. Not going to go into detail because I hated this. It made me viscerally angry. 1 out of 5 stars. But then I rewatched A Muppet Christmas Carol, and this was a fun one because I was actually able to see this at one of the theaters here in Philadelphia as the Philadelphia Orchestra played the music live, and I had a blast. The audience had a blast. I was actually fairly surprised to walk in and see that there was very little children. The majority of the people there were adults. I don't just mean like elder Gen Z and millennial adults. Like the couple next to me were in their 70s and they were by themselves. They didn't have kids or grandkids with them. So I'm loving this era of people embracing the things they used to like as a kid and bringing that into adulthood. Because everyone laughed, we all had a great time. There was a collective sniffle during the When Love Is Gone scene. That was my first time actually seeing that. I reacted to this movie last year not knowing that scene was cut, so this was my first time seeing the film in full. I cried to that. I cried to Tiny Tim again. I cried during his song, and it was really cute because during the end credits, during that song, like everyone, we didn't get up to dance, but you could see everyone dancing in their seat. But it was a great time. If you ever have the opportunity to like watch a movie while an orchestra plays the music live, highly recommend. Then I watched Duck the Halls, Where Did It Go?, which is about Donald Duck experiencing Christmas for the first time because ducks migrate. This was actually hilarious. I know a lot of people feel a certain way about this animation, but I thought it was funny. Like, yes, these characters are more chaotic than usual, but you know what? Great time. We'll put it right here. 3 out of 5 stars. 4 Christmases is about a couple whose ruse is found out, so now they have to celebrate with 4 different families because they each have a set of divorced parents. I hated this. I can't remember how badly. I'm going to put it here. Cavalcade should be over here. How did that get all messed up? Anyway, that's what that row should look like. Then we have A Biltmore Christmas, which is a Hallmark movie that I actually liked. Hallmark, you got me. I didn't love it. We're going to put it, it's 3 out of 5 stars, but it's the best 3 out of 5 star film I watched last year. This is about a woman who's working on the remake of an old 1940s Hollywood film. She accidentally flips over an hourglass and she's thrusted into the 1940s from when that film is being made. And it's very clearly inspired by The Bishop's Wife. If you haven't seen that, it's with Loretta Young and not Clark Gable, with Cary Grant. And it's about a bishop's wife. Her relationship with her husband's kind of rocky. So a man who she does not know is an angel is there to help her, and the angel's played by Cary Grant. The love interest in this was clearly inspired by Cary Grant. Was this movie corny like other Hallmark movies? Yes. Does it have that thing that Hallmark calls victims to, where like the leads are the best actors and everyone else around them overacts to the point it's ridiculous? Yes, especially whoever played the best friend. But I thought the main couple was actually really cute, and I thought they had amazing chemistry. A lot of some of my issues with these movies is because the main couple doesn't have chemistry, but these actors do. The movie itself felt like an old-fashioned 1940s movie, and I always love those. But I was genuinely wondering, because I knew they were going to end up together, and it's like, how does a movie do that? You know, how are they going to do that with this plot line? And I was genuinely shocked by how it happened, and I thought it was cute and romantic. Hallmark, you got me. After years of criticizing your movies and using Hallmark-esque as a negative descriptor, you got the last laugh. And also, listen, I can't blame the girl because the male lead, he's inspired by Cary Grant. And if Cary Grant came from the 1940s and told me he loves me, it's over for me. And it was funny because when I went home for Christmas, I told my mom I finally like a Hallmark movie because she loves them. And I told her, she guessed which one I loved, and she was correct. And now we have plans to watch it like every year together, and I'm so excited. But then I watched Let It Snow, which is just about a group of teens living in their small town on Christmas Eve. This was bad, but in the same way Jingle All the Way and these three movies were. I definitely would have loved that movie as a teenager. I'm just too old for it now. And then we have The Snow Sister, which is about a little boy whose sister has recently died, but he becomes friends with this new girl. Something's off about her, but she's really sweet. It's incredibly predictable. I predicted every plot point in this movie, and yet I was still sobbing at the end. I was still unwell by the end of the movie. So despite how predictable it was, like, it's gotta be in the short list because I liked it so much, and I'll put it around here with the other Christmas movies. And these, we're just gonna go boom, 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 because these last 5 were all rewatches that I watched on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day with my family. Santa Claus is Coming to Town, I watched on Christmas Eve while I was wrapping presents. It's a Wonderful Life is a movie me and my parents watch together every year, and it still fucking gets me. I cry every year. Then we watched The Polar Express, which is my favorite Christmas movie, my second favorite Christmas movie. My all-time favorite movie is Klaus, but my parents don't want to watch that with me this year. So I skipped out on that one, went to the next best thing, and then we thought that was going to be our last movie for the night. My mom went to bed, but my dad had one more film in him. So we watched The Bells of St. Mary's, which I'm not a big fan of. I feel very okay about it, but my dad loves it. You know, I'm home for the holidays. I want to make him happy. That's why I watched it with him. And then the last movie I watched is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, and we watched that Christmas morning while opening presents. Whew! I have, according to my memory card, I have 2 more minutes to talk about the rest of this video, but damn, here is the final product. So 2024 was a great year for movies quantity-wise. Again, I just wish the quality was a little better because I think 2023 has it beat for quality, but I'm still very happy with my end results and how this all worked out. I love making this type of video. I just wish the tier rank website would stop doing what it's doing. But I've already talked enough, so that's it for this video. If you guys like this video, give it a big thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Y'all know the drill. And without further ado, I'm gonna peace out and I'll see you guys later. Ciao, tutti.